also found that changing the body is pretty adaptable, right? And if we treat it well, it will respond well in kind. The mind is interesting, a little bit more challenging than the body.
Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And welcome everybody to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. I'm so grateful to be with you. We have a really interesting guest, a really phenomenal guest, Pete Sacco. He is the quantum engineer is what I'm calling him right now. He's got all the background and all the quantum physics and all this, he's into data, he's in the AI and all that. Yet he loves to help you to live your bliss. And, for you high achievers, we talk about this a lot on this show. You want to experience the blissness of life, but yet you don't want to get so caught up in the grind because you burned out with that, right? And all that stuff. So we're going to get into that, how that all interrelates with the quantum and all that. I'm sure all that'll come through and in this AI age. Now, isn't that some stuff for your brain to feed on right there? All right. So
That's quite the introduction. Thank you, Daniel.
All right. So, tell us about yourself. You're very unique, a very unique individual with.
Yeah, I'm definitely, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's my honor to be, on your podcast and to, help, articulate my views of where I think we are. It's an interesting time that we live in that, here I am 58 years old. And if you'd have told me 30 years ago that this is where I'd be sitting, right, at the seat of the AI industry and designing and building data centers with three little girls that are family 2.0, 8, 6, and 3-year-old little girls, which give me a unique perspective on where life is, and that I'm a father and grandfather at the same time. Yet at the same time, also a plant medicine practitioner that I've had an experience, consciousness itself, and realized that we're actually, there's something far greater than ourselves at work in the universe. I'd have told you were crazy, but here we are, right? And so I feel like I was built for this time. But where it started, as you did correctly, I started as a quantum physicist, right? And I was marginally good at the math, and I didn't really want to teach. So I switched over to engineering because I loved technology. I like saying that I'm pretty sure that George Lucas made Star Wars just for me. I was born in 67. So when it came out in 77, I was 9, 10 years old. And so I feel like Star Wars was made for me, and it made me the technologist that I am today. I had a stint designing power supplies and DC to DC converters for the military during the first 2 Gulf Wars, which led to today I own and founded PTS Data Center Solutions, which is a design builder of the data center facilities that have become quite popular as consuming all the energy of the world today in building out AI, which I know to be the most fundamental technology that man ever wrote. And so, and I have a lot of opinions as to where we're going in the AI world, right? At the same time, somewhere in my late 30s, early 40s, though I was by any definition successful, married, kids, jobs, businesses, right? Money, but I was completely unfulfilled, unhappy, and I didn't know why. So the first book, Living in Bliss, was really the cathartic tale. I really wrote it for myself when I started to get my stuff together, right? As to the journey of balance of body, mind, and spirit. And I went from literally a 360-pound guy that played, football, right? To an unhealthy, to a healthy guy. I mean, I'm probably in the best shape of my life right now, physically. I also found that changing the body is pretty adaptable, right? And if we treat it well, it will respond well in kind. The mind is interesting, a little bit more challenging than the body, but we're blessed with, we're blessed with the ability to grow brain cells and neurogenesis and neuroplasticity, and not just the genetic system, but an epigenetic system that we can express our genes differently. So our mind and body is adaptable to what we feed it, right? And our environment. The better our environment, not just physical environment, but our mental environment, the better we respond. The big surprise to me, Daniel, was discovering spirituality along the way, right? Because to me, I grew up Catholic, and the idea of spirituality was religion. I've since learned that the two are, mutually exclusive.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today. Isn't that something? The experience of, you know, um, growing up in that kind of a background and not even realizing there's any separation between the two, because that's all we're taught. Necessarily growing up here in our culture, and it's
That's
about the
exactly
Catholic
correct.
Church or whatever church that we went to, and this is kind of like what it is. This is spirituality. Is at a church, and it's dogma, it's rules, it's regulations, it's
Right.
stuff that
It's the
doesn't make
isms,
sense half
right?
the at least half the time, at least. But
At the core of all of them, they talk about oneness, completeness, God is within. And I think
Mhm,
that's at the core of most of the isms: Buddhism,
mhm,
Hinduism,
mhm,
Taoism,
yeah,
Sufism, you name the ism, right? And then
mhm,
they put a wrapper around it to make it approachable and teachable and all of that. But, I like how Dan Buettner, the guy who wrote The Blue Zones, I like the
yeah,
way he described it,
mhm,
right? He found it foundational to centenarians, people living well into their hundreds, that having faith in something far greater than themselves. And I love that because that's open to very many interpretations. And so I like that. At least my own experience has been that there's something far greater than what we understand the universe to be at work. I
mhm,
fundamentally believe that consciousness is likely non local. We do not
mhm,
create consciousness. We
mhm,
are embodied consciousness. I believe that
mhm,
we are actually one singular consciousness observing itself. And we created this reality in order to make it explainable to us.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, listen, I'm it's a channeler type of person. Like, I get it. Like, there's things that we're channeling all the time is the thing we don't really realize. But we're just, yeah, every time they look at the brain and everything, in my opinion, or in all the different things in the body, like it looks like it's happening in the body, but where's it come from before that? Like,
Yeah.
so you know what I mean? Like, so I totally resonate with that for sure. Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I think I was born for this moment, right? Because at this time and place, right? Because my quantum background enabled me to understand, I grew up in educationally understanding entanglement and the double slit experiment and quantum
Mhm.
erasure and the quantum processes throughout all of the other sciences, physics and chemistry and other things. But today we're seeing that the most cutting edge thought in going on in quantum mechanics and in cosmology are starting to show that likely the idea that the ancient mystics talk about, that there was something more fundamentally at work, was probably right. The beauty of AI for me is that I think we're only in the cosmic realm of time. We're a stone's throw away from having the science verify everything that the ancient mystics have said
Mhm.
and put it actually down in definitive science. Uh,
Mhm.
the beauty is, I would actually argue there's more people today
Mhm.
seeking their awakening, enlightenment, their little touch of enlightenment right now than probably ever before in human history because it's safe to do so, right? I mean, years ago, if your name was Buddha or Jesus or, you know, you were castigated for thoughts that were different. You were executed, right?
Mhm.
Today, not so much, right? And
Mhm.
so, you have critics, you get
Mhm.
hated on platforms, but that's not the same as being stoned to death in a courtyard.
Right.
And
Right. We're
so,
like, that's so mean online. It's like,
right,
yeah, I tried living in those times.
yeah, it's exactly right. And so today there's a lot of really, really brilliant people, both in science and spirituality, that are putting forth their thoughts. You sometimes have to overcome the noise, but
Mhm.
at the root, I would argue that my feelings about AI as to why AI leads to human flourishing is that in general, there are more people set out for good than there are people who want to burn it all down.
Right.
And though AI is undoubtedly going to have its rogue element, people who use AI for bad, the answer is the only way we're going to defeat bad AI is going to be with good AI. And since there are more good people in the world than bad people in the world, we will actually not destroy ourselves. Actually, quite the opposite. Every generation that ever grew up with the technology that was the technology of its time, dating back to beginning of time, right? Gutenberg, when Gutenberg invented the printing press, right? People said it was going to spread heresy, right? Putting the written word down on things that people could read, that it would spread chaos, but it didn't. It ushered in an enlightenment, right? And it
Hmm.
democratized knowledge for the first time for more than just the elites. Now,
Hmm.
you can carry that same fear of every technology and every innovation right through from the written word to electricity to the internet, right? To social media was going to destroy mankind. The calculator in your pocket, right? Remember, we couldn't carry calculators because
Right.
we were going to forget how to do
Too
math.
many people have jobs in math. We can't
That's
do it.
exactly right. Now, all of a sudden, AI is the new poster child for the Terminator generation. I
Hmm.
think it's quite the opposite. This is going to be the singular technology that actually allows mankind to flourish beyond our wildest expectations. I believe it is the technology that ultimately leads to post-scarcity society.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it definitely has that potential, right? And I think like even the people that are most optimistic, maybe you're in that crowd. It's like there are going to be people that are like, well, at the same time, it could be this and that too, right? So those dangers do exist, right? We
There's
can't
no
just
doubt. There's
sugarcoat
no doubt
that,
it
but
will lead
there
to
are some,
dystopic
but yeah.
times. There's
Hmm.
no doubt it will lead to dystopic times, right? Because we've
Hmm.
identified. I'm actually just releasing a book right now called The Bridge. And with The Bridge is I'm exploring the idea that human intelligence is bipolar. And here's what I mean by that. And it's actually part of the Hermetic sciences, right? The seven Hermetic sciences. And one polarism is one of the ideas. Temperature is bipolar, right? Temperature is just temperature, but temperature, the absence of heat, is cold. And then obviously we could be very, very hot at the same time. They're all still temperatures. We're just
Right.
talking degrees.
Right.
Human intelligence, it is my hypothesis, operates much the same way,
Hmm.
right? On one end of the pole, we have perfect analytic engine, right?
Hmm.
We have perfect decision making based on perfect data, calculations, optimizations, right? Let's remember that for up till this point, we've been our own calculator. We've been
Hmm.
our own analytic engine. And so, therefore, it's no surprise that, by the way, we've created tools to enhance our analytic capability. We all
Hmm.
remembered what was the first one? The calculator, right? We enhanced our ability to do math. And then that gave way to the computer and then the internet. And now, is it any surprise then? We have created the ultimate analytic engine based on data? AI, the perfect pattern recognition machine? No, it's not a mystery to me. In fact, I will say that the evolution of AI is that it will become so vastly better at
Hmm.
doing analytics that it just leaves us in the dust. But then that leaves the void. If we've been this guy, what's the opposite end of the pole? The
Hmm.
opposite end of the pole is, let's define that as human discernment, the
Hmm.
ability to make value judgments based on imperfect information.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that now simply is the role of human beings. Our ability to decide, to create, to innovate, to be a part of making decisions absent of the perfect amount of information is the
Hmm.
realm of humans. So
Hmm.
my argument is that as AI enhances our IQ from
Hmm.
analytical intelligence, it will force humanity to balance the spectrum by driving us to become what we always were: discernment,
Hmm.
people of discernment, people to
Hmm.
make value judgments based on imperfect information. It will
Hmm.
improve us as humans, fundamentally making us more selfless, more altruistic, more
Mm,
ability to allow us to operate in a more parasympathetic way, right? Sympathetic nervous system sits in that male dominated, calculating, deriving, fright, flight, or fear, right over here, as opposed to the feminine, let me calm, decide, discern, intuit, and operate.
mm.
And then what we need to do is find the balance in the middle.
Right,
And
right.
so I believe that human intelligence sits on that same polar opposite. AI is going to be the thing that helps drive us into that opposite state to become the balance to perfect analytics. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm exploring in my book called The Bridge. I'm billing myself as the bridge because here I am, this 58-year-old guy who's knee deep in AI and the tech of the world and what's the next
Mhm.
thing in chipsets and inferencing. But at the same time, I'm a plant medicine practitioner who's experienced consciousness itself and has a realization that likely consciousness is not local to us. There's a
Mhm.
chance that this is one reality of a far
Mhm.
greater reality that we can't even conceive of yet, and that
Right.
we're
Yeah.
creating this reality in order to explain ourselves.
Right.
So I'm here that I am. I'm that guy, that yin and the yang of sitting right in the middle of understanding the bridge between the sciences and the spiritual.
Right. Yeah, that's phenomenal. Now, for people who are been those driven people and it's all analytics and just get the job done and all
Yeah.
that stuff, AI is probably something that's really exciting for some of them, right? Oh my God, what we could do with this and all that sort of thing. But at the same time, it's like, people are looking for more ease and, feel like they're being more honest with themselves, I think. In the old days, I think people would just work themselves to death and keel over, and like it still happens. But you know what I mean? Like more people are willing to admit, like, yeah, there's got to be there needs to be more of a sense of balance or whatever you want to call it. Like, can't just be driving hard all the time. And people have these big spiritual awakenings. They go on the plant medicine journeys. They come back. They reinvent themselves. They approach it like yourself, right? Like you reinvent yourself. You come back in a new way and now you're in more the if you want to call it feminine, right? You're in a more discerning,
Yep.
flowing way, but you are still using that grit. Like everybody that's successful is using grit. I mean, at some
Oh yeah,
level,
no
that's what I've
doubt.
noticed, right? You're churning the details and the grit and getting after it at the same time. And it's the AI, yeah, I think like AI for me, like I'm one of those novices probably. Like I use it for just run of the mill things, mostly maybe some marketing stuff. You play around with it and whatnot. But for me, it doesn't, yeah, I'm an organic kind of guy. It doesn't feel, I'm emotional and organic and, working with AI tries to imitate a human voice and it all feels too synthetic for me sometimes. And sometimes I'm
Yeah.
like, boy, it's so amazing in one level. Another level, it's really not very advanced at all in other ways, like,
No, that's exactly right. And
yeah,
let's remember where it is. If AI was a clock, a 24-hour clock, we're only at 2 a.m.
right,
We've got
right, right,
22 hours left to go,
right,
right?
right.
Before where I'll talk about where I believe we are, the post-scarcity society, where, by
Hmm.
the way, value is no longer money. Value is compute, right? Because all basic needs will be provided by the machines providing value to us. It's going to
Hmm.
change everything about what we thought an economy looks like or what to live looks like. We
Hmm.
aren't needed. We won't be needed in the future to
Hmm.
do anything. We won't be
Hmm.
rewarded by how smart we think we are or what
Hmm.
our skills will be in the workforce because most
Hmm.
work will be able to be done by the machines. All basic
Right,
services will be provided, education, food,
right.
housing, everything will be provided for us by the value store.
One of the things that
Compute
won't
will be the,
change,
yeah,
one of the things that won't change, I wanted to just jump in for a second is we still will be manifest. Yeah, I know you. There's this idea, right? Where in one of your videos you talk about just a cork in the ocean, right? A lot of people talk about that, where we don't have so much control. Then again, I could say like, yeah, but then again, I know when I get focused on something, it tends to come into my reality, right? So, am I controlling it? No, but am I beaconing it? Yes. Like
yes,
so that is not going to change. AI is not going to take that. Isn't going to make you
no,
extinct because you're still going to be creating results in your life based on your own individual consciousness for now.
A
You just
hundred
talk about
percent.
chips and this and that. We're all going to integrate. We're all going to be in the oneness and stuff. I still think there'll be individualization within that unless we become slaves, right? Like, no, we're still going to have our own individual choices and all that stuff to play within this matrixy of, AI or whatever it is that we're moving into. We're called AI now. Probably call it something different before you know, right? So it's just like I was studying this AI stuff back in the 90s. I mean,
That's
I was
right.
like, because it's so fascinating. I'm like, I think this is probably going to happen. I was writing papers and stuff on it back then, and
Yeah.
it is amazing. Like, there's always people that thought, well, it might not ever happen, right? And so all the things people are saying, like I said, listen, the chips are coming. They're coming. And I don't know what your take is on that, but for me, I'm like, especially in the beginning, don't take the chip. That's my counterbalance to this stuff because I'm like, we don't know. Everybody say, oh, it's safe. We tested on 1,000 monkeys or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever it is. It's like, no, I don't trust it, right? Yeah, let's we have to take certain things of this with some discernment, like you said, right? We got to
Yeah.
listen a little deeper, not just jump on bandwagons and stuff. We have to master our psychology. We need to master our mindset because part of what I do is all around like we have to master ourselves in this AI age, or yeah, like increasingly in some ways you could be threatened or mincemeat. Like it's just helping you to grow. It's helping you
I,
to
I
evolve, is
agree.
how I see it. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's so early, and if early in the development of it. It's the oldest new technology that there's out there, right? Right. It's
Mhm.
been developed, like you said, since a long time ago. My engineering thesis was on AI as well, and it's taken it to a whole new level. But let's say right now it's a really, really, really good pattern recognition machine, right? That it's a large language model is basically taken human language and every book that's ever been written, copyrighted or not, and it's learned it and then it just spits it back out to us, the most probabilistic word that should come next in the sequence. And it feels like it knows us because it's just repeating back our words to us. If enough people wrote those words over and over, it must be right. Let's
Mhm.
remember if all those people wrote the wrong words, it's spitting back the wrong words, but they are our words.
Right.
Very soon there it's going to shift, right?
Hmm.
First, we're going to go probably 2026 will be the year of the agentic AI system. Let's call it replacement of the untrained worker, right? That's
Hmm.
going to be where agentic AI will build systems that anything that's a rote process, do this, then this, then this, then this, then this, don't ever change it, right? That's going to be the role of agentic AI. That's going to
Hmm.
give way to robotics, then
Hmm.
advanced robotics. And I believe
Hmm.
advanced robotics looks something like this, right?
Hmm.
The first place is going to be robotics, we're taking the place of the jobs that human beings shouldn't be doing in the first place. The
Hmm.
dangerous ones, the ones in deep space or deep under the ocean, the ones where they're handling materials that are just unsafe to handle. But that's going to give way to probably the first place that I think it will impact humanity will likely be in nursing. By
Hmm.
2026, there's going to be about 400 million people in the world that are going to require some form of elder care nursing. And there are
Hmm.
not near enough nurses on the planet that are
Right.
going to do that by 2030, right?
Right.
And so the answer is robots are going to do that. And
Hmm.
anybody who's ever taken care of a loved one that had dementia or, God forbid, Alzheimer's knows that you're literally taking years off your life trying to build the amount of compassion it takes to take care of somebody who's no longer of their own faculties,
Hmm.
right? Think about now the machine doing that for you. That
Hmm.
machine is only ever going to know to treat grandma with the greatest level of compassion that she's ever known. It is never going to waver in its ability to catch her when she falls, make sure that she is fed, make sure that she's cleaned, make sure that she's well taken care of, make sure that she takes her medication on time, answers her question, the same question over and over with the same level of compassion every time. And you know who's going to love that robot for that? Grandma. But you know who's going to love it even more? You,
Hmm.
because it's doing something that even for your grandmother, for your mother, for your wife, we couldn't do for ourselves. Bring that level of compassion to care for our own loved one. But what it's going
Hmm.
to give us back is that sacred time where we could still spend time with the person that we loved without having to care for them. And we're
Mm-hmm.
going to love that robot for doing this. And I believe that's going to be the first transitional time where we're going to go, huh, we would have never done that but for robotics.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
believe from there, the gloves are off. I think it changes. And ultimately, we wind up in a post scarcity society where
Mm-hmm.
everything is provided for us because the machines do the rote far better than we ever could.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Mm-hmm.
will retrain ourselves to be better, intuitive, discerning human beings, more selfless, more altruistic.
Mm-hmm.
And, and it will force us to be that because we no longer need to be on this side of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely going to solve a lot of things, right? It's going to do a lot of stuff. I think, the construct of scarcity versus abundant is in part, again, a construct, right? So, we believe there's a lot of this and a lot of that, and there's proof for it, right? There's data and all that too. But like, then there could be like, yeah, but there's still not enough, right? Trillions isn't enough, or hundreds of trillions isn't enough. We need more, like so.
Right.
A lot of it's still like a kind of a, but I hear what you're saying. Like, yeah, and it's going to just continue to take things like now we're in abundant age now versus where we've been in the past, but yet people don't call this an age of abundance. Oh, it's harder than ever before. That's
Right.
more, that's more of
I
like the
loved
messaging and speaking.
Steven Pinker wrote the book Enlightenment Now a few years ago now. I believe he's a um, Stephen, I get this wrong every single time. I think he's a Harvard psychologist. If I'm sorry, Stephen, if you're out there and I got it wrong, I apologize. Look him up. He's a brilliant writer. Enlightenment Now. But I love this premise. His premise is if you think that life was better at any other time in history other than right now, by any definition, life was faster, easier, better, this, more. You're not just wrong. You're really, 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 really wrong. And then he spends 400 pages talking about everything from freedom, money, healthcare, health span, lifespan, you name the, we're not just a little bit better, we're a
Mhm.
lot better,
Right.
which means that even though it feels like, right,
Hmm.
we're biased, we are negatively biased
Right.
creatures, even
Right.
though it feels like we're destroying the world, if we step back and we look 1,000 years ago, what we look like to what we look like right now, and then we project 1,000 years in the future, do we really think for one moment that life is not going to be exponentially better for our
Hmm.
forebears than we are right now?
Hmm.
I don't see how we could define it by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I think we live in an exponential world. I think if
Hmm.
you look out 1,000 years and you go beyond your wildest dreams of what you think what 1,000 years of human evolution from 2026 looks like, I
Hmm.
think look out 100 years, and that's potentially what it's going to look like. And if you look
Hmm.
out 100 years from today, look out 20 years, and I bet
Hmm.
you that's what it's going to look like in 20 years. Now,
Hmm.
here's what's interesting. I bet you, I bet you that in 50 years, I'm 58. In 50 years, I'm still going to be alive to see it.
Hmm.
I fervently believe that with the advancements in healthcare, in lifespan, in health span, we are going to be the first generation that doesn't just the majority of us, the minority of us, doesn't just outlive our parents and grandparents. We're going to vastly outlive our parents and grandparents.
Hmm.
Look, if nothing happens in healthcare, I'm certain that my 3-year-old, the average age in the United States will be roughly 115 years old,
Hmm.
with peaks of like 150 to 180. And that's, by the way, if nothing happens.
Hmm.
I think Aval Harari wrote it in his book Homo Deus when he said, man spent the last millennia trying not to die by disease, famine, and war. Man will spend the next millennia living as gods and living forever. That's the trajectory that we're on. It's
Hmm.
scary. There is no doubt. But I'm an optimist. I'm the anti-Terminator guy, right?
Hmm.
I have supreme faith that mankind has always prevailed and will again prevail, and our
Hmm.
life will be far better than what it is today by any definition.
Right. And we need the voices of the optimists, and for sure, absolutely, because there's a lot of negativity, right? Like you said, we're
That's it.
negatively biased,
We
right?
are
Where's the
negatively
danger?
biased
How's that
people.
going to get us? Well, how's that going to take us down and all that sort of stuff? So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think the AI stuff, I mean, is very interesting. It's one of those things that again, it's a great opportunity, but we have to realize like there's something far greater than AI as well, right? I think
Oh
like that's
God,
part
yeah.
of what I wanted to lean into today too, because I think without that connection to something far greater, all that stuff seems far more scary and actually potentially could be as catastrophic as what I've heard it could be, even from channeling, like for whatever people believe about that. But like even from channeling, there's realities where it can be dark, Well, it's a opportunity for our awakening because this thing becomes like, man, this is the wizard's bag, man. It solves all the problems, but it's not that. It looks that way. It's showing up that way in some instances, but all of a sudden, if you put all your eggs in that magic bag, before you know it, it's going to possess you. It's going to reveal like the non-truth in it. I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's something greater, a greater reality that you were talking about earlier, and how do we incorporate that into our lives? We're burnout and trying to, achieve more. We're trying to figure out this AI thing as well and all that. Like, how do we go beyond in consciousness in order to be as optimistic as you are and to integrate it into our lives so it can be as beneficial and amazing as it potentially can be?
Yeah. And so I love that because I'd love to finish there because I do believe the opposite end of the spectrum of perfect machines is actually perfect consciousness, right? The idea that likely we are one holistic consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
We are avatars in it, observing itself, that we are creating the reality that we are, all the physics, all of the cosmos, all of the universe. There's an infinite possible notions of what the Big Bang means. Was it one Big Bang, multiple Big Bangs? Is it an infinite time, for instance, that Big Bang? Has there ever been a Big Bang? There's as many opinions as there are physicists in the world right now, but they've got the greatest tool that's going to help them actually figure it out for the first time in mankind's history, and that we're going to get the real answer. What we do know is the universe ultimately holds the right answer. There is an ultimate reality, whatever that reality is. There is an
Mm-hmm.
ultimate answer. I just think that we've got the machines that are going to be able to explore consciousness itself. So the subtitle of my book, The Bridge, is what AI, building AI, has taught me that the real technology is actually consciousness itself. What is the
Mm-hmm.
construct of the consciousness that we find ourselves sitting in, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is it that we have perfect order and information in everything that we do? How is it that we can manifest our own reality? How is it that we can actually create the circumstances? If you go to bed pissed off, you wake up pissed off. But if you go to bed happy, you wake up happy, right? We are nothing more than a programmed amalgam of machines, of circumstance, of experience. And if we want to improve that, we have to improve ourselves. My first book explores how I've done some of that in myself, but even then, I started to realize now that, you know what? Genetically, programmatically, of mind and body, I'm programmed to be that high functioning, sympathetically derived top achiever guy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
made to operate at the high end of the machine. For me to slow it all down parasympathetically is an exercise. And
Mm-hmm.
I used to think that I had to force calmness. I had to meditate. I had to do somatic breathing. I had to cold plunge. I had to use pulsetto to calm my nervous system. And all of them do that temporarily, but only true inner release and surrender.
Mm-hmm.
True surrender. Nothing left to do. No work left to do. What is what's perfect, is what today intercollapses my calmness, that I could feel all the tension leave my body systematically, so that the ultimate resolve of that is focus. I used to think that I meditate, I focus in order to drive my state to calmness. I've since learned it's the opposite.
Hmm.
I calm myself to bring myself to a relaxed state to allow myself to be in a state of focus.
Hmm.
And that is the secret, is that we need to calm ourselves to allow ourselves to have the intuition and creativity and discernment that is necessary for us to thrive as human beings. And we can train ourselves to do that now, because very soon we are not going to have to worry about paying the mortgage, paying the bills, going to work. Our children's children's children are going to look at us and they're going to go, let me get this right. You woke up every day to go to a job that you really didn't like, but you did it because you had to put food on the table and you spent time with people that you really wouldn't have chose to spend time with rather than the loved ones who you were really trying to do all this for, but you chose to spend half of your life with other people. And you did that all because you had to go to a job and you had to work? I don't understand because they
Hmm.
really won't. Because have you noticed even this, our Gen Zers and our not even Gen Y, but our Gen Zers and our the Gen Zers, the 20-year-olds right now,
Hmm.
completely different from my grandparents and my parents. My dad, my grandfather lived to work.
Yeah.
My 20-year-old world, they're working to live. And you know what? They're right. The older
Hmm.
generation is castigating right now as unfocused, undisciplined, uncaring, undis. But no, no, no. They're already the embodiment of the switch of mankind. We're just seeing it unfold right in front of us. That in a few decades, there'll be nothing left for us to do because we will no longer be required to do anything. We will
Hmm.
be there for each other as we were
Hmm.
always meant to be.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, I love your optimism and the vision you're casting. I mean, it helps to bring it into fruition. So, I mean,
That's what it's really all
see,
about.
that's the real magic to me. Is like we're casting visions all the time, and that's what we're bringing into fruition. Like someone cast the vision for AI through, yeah, it came to them obviously, but like, then it's like, oh yeah, yeah, AI, and like, so that's what I like to double down on. That's why I know there's going to be a lot of focus and valuing of AI. It already is big, so it's like for me, I'm like, wait a minute, we haven't even mastered our inner technology yet, right? Like, I'm like the wait a minute type of guy on that because I'm like, okay, yeah, great. I agree. We can learn from it and use it and utilize it in all these incredible ways, right? And all the things you've talked about, it's so many more that we can't even get into like ever in one show, much less a number of shows. There's so much, right? But
Yeah.
it's like we have to realize it's, the more from the positive aspect of what you're saying, it's like increasingly as you cast your vision, the answers are already available even more instantaneously than ever before. And yeah, and AI can assist with that, right? So that's a higher, vision for it. But until we master more of our inner state, like that doesn't
That's
happen. For
it.
you, perhaps you've got to a place, where you're like, it is, and all that sort of thing. And like, but most people like listening, like aren't at that state yet, right? So, so what are some of the things that people can do so they are able to allow all these things to unfold, these beautiful things that without so much fear and trepidation of what the future holds, and we're all going to be wiped out or whatever, all those
Yeah.
visions, right? Those visions have been cast too. So like, how can they live their bliss and start
It's
to
hard.
really, yeah.
Look, I don't want to diminish it for one step that, that it's not going to be easy. And it's going to be maybe the hardest transition mankind will ever have gone through. But I think the ancient mystics gave us the answers, right?
Hmm.
It was Buddha that says living with expectations means that we live in a state of suffering, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so one of the things is to teach ourselves is that this is an extension of a book written by Jonathan Haidt, who wrote the happiness hypothesis. And he actually, as an engineer, I love the idea that he gave happiness an equation, right? And he said happiness equals our given given state for happiness, right? Some people are blessed with high levels of happiness, some people are lower, right? But what is our given our initial conditions by our current state, right? I would argue that we live a pretty comfortable life, right? If you're a an 18-year-old male in sub-Saharan Africa, your reality is much harsher than my reality, and so your expect, your so giving conditions. And number three, this is the one that we do for ourselves: voluntary acts. I know that my life took a definitive improved statement when I realized one day, actually from Dan Sullivan, who wrote a book called Who Not How,
Mm-hmm.
that challenged me to understand what am I really good at, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are I call them in my book, I call them superpowers. What are the things I'm really good at? And then what I focus is on just doing those. Those are the things that give me great happiness. They're the things that come easy to me. I don't have to practice them. I don't have to train them. I could teach them, right?
Right.
The voluntary acts via Jonathan Haidt that I give myself are to do the things that I do well and do them every day because they make me happy. And if I can have more happy thoughts at the end of the day than I have bad thoughts of the 70,000 thoughts that travel through my mind each day, guess what? I go to bed happy, I wake up happy. But I
Mm-hmm.
can't take it there. I got to take two more, and I'm going to add them to Jonathan Haidt's equation. One, let's create moments of awe for ourselves. We all know awe, right? That moment that we've stared out at a sunset or a beach or watched a baby being born or watching something unbelievably just magically happen, right? Our hair stands up, we feel inspired, we feel energized, we feel connected to everything around us. Let's not wait for those to happen. Let's make those happen. Let's put ourselves in circumstances of nature and put ourselves in circumstances where we become awe inspiring, not awe inspired. Let's create our moments of awe and wonder. And then lastly, I'm going to tip to Buddha: expectations. We expect way too much of ourselves. We expect way too much that the world is going to fill to our desires and our biddings. And then we expect way too much of each other, especially those that we love the most. So we have to minus our expectations. So if
Mm-hmm.
we give our set point plus our conditions plus our voluntary acts plus giving ourselves awe and we subtract expectations, we can live a better existence, an
Mm-hmm.
existence that's not so mired in suffering. So that's my nod to Jonathan to with a little enhanced equation on how we can derive happiness and fulfillment in our lives.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's great examples of that, including, people like yourself and others who are living that type of a life. Like Michael Singer comes, I know you mentioned him on one of your
Absolutely.
shows, right? Like, he's not, but it's funny because we've been given other formulas that are supposedly, the things that have created great success, and that's a whole nother show maybe, but like Think and Grow Rich, right? You need standards, I stand. So that's like an expectation. Like you do it no matter what, every day. And
Yeah,
you got to hit it hard and whatever, and all those things. And you're never good enough, basically. So you always have to take it higher. And then so that ratchets up a lot of tension, a lot of
it
energy in that
does.
direction. And it could produce certain results, but may not be very happy, like so, again, may bring some development and building you in certain ways. Other ways it's tearing you down at the same time, right? That type of pressure. So I love that you brought that in because that is what's possible. But a lot of times we don't see that anymore because we just know, like we've been told, get to work, focus, let's go. And
That's
so
it.
I love that counterbalance of like, come on, like you're making it way too hard. Like life's a flow. We're channeling it, just channeling this thing in, right? That's kind of how I hear you when you talk about that sort of that way of being.
And it doesn't mean that you are one side or the other for
Right.
everything.
Right.
There's the
Right. That's
balance.
true.
That's what
Yeah.
I meant in living in
Yes.
bliss, right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
created a set of core values that I live by, that I live with great presence. I try
Hmm.
to be present in every moment. I try to
Hmm.
live with great purpose. Just because I'm living in the present doesn't mean I don't worry or think about the future or plan appropriately. I
Mm-hmm.
live with great purpose because purpose gives us great spirit. And then finally, I live with great prosperity. And I don't mean prosperity just wealth for my family, right? I mean prosperity for all, which leaves
Mm-hmm.
me to my what is the transformative purpose? What is the purpose that I want to live? And that's I think I love the number three. So everything I do is in threes. So my purpose in life is one, to live awakened, to
Mm-hmm.
realize there's something far greater than
Mm-hmm.
myself. Number two, to champion decentralization. I think actually for my professional career, I will spend the rest of my professional career and investment thesis around supporting technologies that decentralize because I think it's a more efficient way to use the limited resources that we have. It's the
Mm-hmm.
way that we create abundance from what we have.
Mm-hmm.
And then thirdly, to cultivate transformation. And again, in a very yin yang kind of way, not just transformation of self, but transformation for all. I
Mm-hmm.
want to serve as a beacon. I can't change you, Daniel, but what I can do is be the best possible me. And
Right.
if a result of that is that my children find some little peace and solace from that that inspires them to be better for themselves, wonderful. Because I
Mm-hmm.
could tell you there's a dozen people that I look to that help
Mm-hmm.
elevate me, that
Mm-hmm.
help inspire me to be a better person. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what we do for one another. So not just prosperity for me, but prosperity for all.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's definitely one of my songs I created is around that. So yeah, I love that. It's so fun. Um, well, this is phenomenal. I mean, you're really help to inspire people and really help to nourish people to feel like, yeah, great things are coming, great things are happening, and and to point the way. So. I know you have resources and you have your books and
I
whatnot
do,
for
yep.
people to get more. So a bunch of yeah, if
Yeah,
you
thanks. I appreciate the shameless plug time. And so
would.
it's all found on petesacco.com,
Mhm.
petesacco.com. And yes, Living in Bliss is out there. I'm just releasing The Bridge. Um, but there's lots of things in there. I look, we live in a world right now where we are all building identities of personal brand. I think, very Gary V kind of way, Gary Vaynerchuk, right? That
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
way. It's time for us to build. We live in a world of intent-based marketing, right?
Mhm.
I've got something to say. I'm
Mhm.
58 years old. Unlike the 20-year-olds out there, and God bless them, look, they're building the intent generation. I'm just trying to learn it quickly enough because you know what? At 58, I've broken more shit than most people have actually seen.
Very
I've got
cool.
something that a little bit of wisdom that I'm going to
Mhm.
carry to the world as I continue to learn within it. And so
Mhm.
PeteSacco.com is my first nod at how do I put myself out there is that as I continue to learn and evolve as a human being, improve myself to hopefully inspire others, my children included, my grandchildren included. That's how I'm going to put myself out there. And
Mhm.
whether that's through my data center companies that are building data center or my investment platforms that are investing in AI and longevity and the other things that are going on, all of them have a common theme that I want to leave this place a better place than when I found it.
Mhm. Yay! I love that. So yeah, that's it. I'm like, yay! Love it. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, it's one of the things I'm inspired by, maybe you probably are too, I'm sure. We get inspired by our kids too, right? It goes both ways. Like my daughter, like she from without me ever saying anything, but like she's like, I just want to, she said it repeatedly again and again. She's 17 now or 18 now, actually. She just turned 18. I'm getting used to that. Anyway, but she's like, I just want to be the best human I could possibly be every day, every day. And she's repeated that throughout her life. I just want to be the best human I can be every day. And, she does. She does
Wow,
every,
there's no
she
better
does all the
mantra that
things.
somebody could repeat to themselves, right? A lot of kids
Yeah.
repeat a lot of things to
Yeah.
themselves. That's about as good as you're going to get.
Right. And so like it's inspiring to me. Like I'm like, yeah, me too.
Yeah,
You
right.
know? So like I've actually taken on her mantra. Right? I want that as well on top of other things I do mantras on, right? But it's like one of them. And so it's so beautiful when we can allow ourselves to just learn from everything, take in everything that nourishes us and allow ourselves to realize the opportunity to soar when we let go, right? When we let go and we allow ourselves to go with what we really do sense, because a lot of times we're fighting the truth, aren't we? We're fighting what could really help us out or work. And like I know I have, right? Like so I fought like, hey, listen, I don't believe in what you're saying. I don't believe in this one and that one. And there's discernment, right? I'm not saying no discernment. I'm saying a lot of times usually there's wisdom in every single message coming to for sure, right? It's
Yeah.
like, let me listen, let me listen. Oh yeah, yeah, and the more we can do that, the better off we're gonna be. So I love like all the things you brought because honestly, your message for most people is like, I don't know if I believe in what he's saying. I don't know about this AI, right? So I love it because it's like, yeah, but wait a minute, maybe he's right, maybe there is a lot of that in there, right? Like, let's go with that.
Let me share a very brief story. I've told this story before, but I think your audience, if they hadn't heard me before, they'll appreciate it. So this was my 7-year-old daughter Amelia, and we were sitting at the breakfast table one time, right? And so you were talking from the mouth of babes, right? How are kids reacting to this time, right?
Mhm.
So we were sitting at the breakfast table, and she was talking about having a problem with a schoolmate, a little girl who wasn't treating her nicely and who supposedly was a friend. And my wife's giving her sage advice. My wife is explaining to her, well, friends normally build each other up, but every now and then we fail ourselves and we tear each other down. But at some point, you're going to have to make a decision of whether she's truly a friend and worth the investment of your time and energy. But you'll have to make that call. And I thought, you know what, good for her. And my daughter pauses and she goes, Mom, I don't find her very zen.
Mm.
And I paused because this made Daddy put his coffee cup down, right? Because now I know she heard this word from me, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I go, that's an interesting word, baby, zen. What does it mean to you that you say zen? What do you mean? She thinks about it a second and she pauses and she goes, Dad, I just want to have a good time right now. She's always worried about what we did yesterday and who said this and who said that and what we're going to do tomorrow and what this person's going to say and how it is. Why can't we just have fun right now?
Yeah.
I go, you're talking about presence. Again, I've heard you, you're learning that from me. But what you're talking about is the deep satisfaction that comes with living in the present moment. Why is that so important? She goes, come on, Dad. It's just like that movie that we watched with the bear. And I
Mm.
pause and I'm like, what? The movie with the bear? And then it dawns on me. We had just watched Kung Fu Panda. So I go,
Oh,
you mean the panda? She
right.
goes, yeah, it's like what that old guy said. I go, yes, Master Oogway. What did Master Oogway say? She goes, well, the past is history, the future's a mystery, and today is a gift, and that's why we call it the present. And
Mhm.
my wife looked at me, and I had this shit-eating grin on my face and a tear in my eye, because at that point it dawned on me that they really listen. And I go,
Yeah.
baby, if I was to go to your school and I was to ask every student and every teacher and every parent of every student, what is the power of Zen and what is the power of living for the present moment? Nobody could give me an answer that was as beautiful as what you said. And she goes, but Daddy, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Right, right.
So,
That's why it's so good.
so I go, I says, but yeah, I get it that your little 7-year-old intellect can't quite conceptualize what it means to live in the present moment, but your heart knows it's right.
Right,
And that's good enough for Daddy.
right,
And I
right,
walked away and I had a tear in my eye. And my wife goes, you're living your best life right now. And I'm like,
right.
babe, here's what you don't get. This is who we're handing the world off to. I was 40 years old before I started to realize that there was something more important in the world than this guy.
Yeah,
She's 7. And if that's who we're handing the world to, I'm okay with it.
right.
And I
Yeah,
thought, you know what? We're going to all be okay. Let's get over ourselves.
right, 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 right. Awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, we'll put links down below to check out more with Pete. And I'm just
Thank you
really
so much,
grateful.
Daniel.
Yeah, that
I'm
you.
eternally grateful. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and we do have before we slip off here. Now we
Yeah,
do have the energy scan spotlight.
let's do it.
to take a couple minutes. So I'm going to get a couple downloads around whatever I'm picking up to share with Pete on what I'm picking up, maybe on his energy or whatever comes through. Like I get a vision sometimes, whatever may just pop in. And then everybody listen in, guys. Maybe one of these information is probably going to be for you too at some level. So listen in. People always gain from what comes through for other people. So, all right. So Pete, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a moment to center and just tune in without just kind of talking diarrhea style and just blah, 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 getting all this stuff, and just take a moment to share a couple of things with you. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Okay. All right, great. So what I can confirm is this guy's got a genuine heart, all right? That's already obvious, but like you know, that's one of many things coming through, but like this your genuine heart like really shines through. And so I feel like there's yeah, when I look at like I do believe in the past life thing because of all the scanning I do, I see it all the time, right? So but I feel like this huge energy of compassion, love that is not just this, you know, in one life or something. Like finally you figured it out. Like even whatever you thought you were caught up in before, right? Like whatever that looked like, it still was there. You know, it's still you've always had that for the longest time, like in a deep way. Like it's been very palpable. So like I just noticed that I get like, you know, like I love like you're meant to do this. You're meant to be teaching like this. You are that person. Like, all right, just, you know, that teacher, you know, kind of role is really suitable for you. And so you get like a lot of tangible, practical information, but yet you can conceptualize, you know, very untangible things as well. So I really love that about you through this interview. But yeah, I see through your throat energy. Yeah, more and more wants to happen. I really believe in the power of you sharing more books with the world too. Like you're already on that path, but I sense lots of books, you know, and so you probably do too. But I don't know, it's funny. I brought up music, I think, before in this interview. I'm getting some of the music too. So that may not be something on your radar, but I'm getting something with music coming out. Now, I don't know how you're connected to it, if you're producing it, but I'm getting like you're
I
connected
play
to.
piano.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So I'm getting the music, and there'll be not as much of that as like the books, but I get there's something going to be produced with that. So I noticed that, and yeah, I know we're limited on our time, but there's a couple of things that are coming through, and I just want to say you're totally on the right track with your purpose, obviously. Now I could find heaviness in anybody's energy field somewhere, right? It'll be like, okay. You got this deep ability to concentrate and focus. Like I see that, like just right there, in sort of the third eye energy, and so it's very deep. Now, you have a history of getting very irritated by things, like it just why is this? You know, like in a way that's like is kind of beyond. But then your compassion is beyond, so it's kind of balanced itself a bit through the life, and now you're more into that centered calmness. So that's fantastic. And I could go on and on. It's fun to share, but
You're dead
uh,
on.
yeah.
You're dead on. I mean, absolutely. I make no bones about it. I actually wrote the book, The Bridge, right now, where I talk about, I realize that I'm very sympathetically focused, right? The
Hmm.
learned opposite of that, of the parasympathetic calming myself down, is a learned response because I naturally am that sympathetically, I'm built for fight or flight or freeze, right? And
Hmm.
so, yeah, it's definable, Daniel, that you could feel that in the energy of me. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate that.
Oh, I
So I
appreciate
hope very many people reach out to you and get read.
that. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so people, if you want to, listeners, you want to check out everything about Pete, we got those links in. If you want to check me out, go to yoursacredpurpose.com. Get your meditate and make money meditation. Why not? Like we're doing all this other technology stuff. What about your inner technology? All right, get your own. Get it from the source code directly,
There you
right?
go.
Okay, go ahead, get your downloads and what wants to happen for your business. And so you can get that for free at yoursacredpurpose.com. Yes, you can once you join, before you know it, I'll be offering an event or something. Come get read, this and that, and also have a consultation on the website too to get that energy scan consultation. Also look at your business and see how we can get your business to the next level, whatever level you're at now, to take that to a whole nother level. And I'm definitely looking to help you, the visionary healer, to do all the things that you're imagining could be possible and support that with your energy and more. So all that at yoursacredpurpose.com. All right. So Pete, again, I just want to just give incredible thanks to you. Really grateful for you and what you bring forth, that we have somebody with such heart and wisdom and discernment, bringing forth so much good, including in the AI area. We definitely need more of that, right? And making sure, because I'm sure not everybody is like got such a space for it. So I'm so grateful to you for being on the show today.
Thanks so much, Daniel. I really enjoyed our time together.
All right, everybody. So keep on, like I always say at the end of the show, right? Keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time. For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.